Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Christiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Hello, all you total bosses out there, and welcome to another episode of the Total Boss Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a mindset and transformation coach working with gay men to help them transform their trauma into triumph so they can have a more confident, a more free, and a more fulfilling life. Now, in this episode, I am going to talk about being gay in the corporate world. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have been through a lot of different experiences in your working life. Now, obviously, in our working life, we are around people probably more than we are some people in our life, our families, our partners, our friends, etc. Because, you spend upwards of, 40 hours a week in this type of an environment. And oftentimes, people can have, a whole range of different experiences, especially as gay men, right? Now, for me, growing up, in most of my corporate life until, my last job before I became a coach, I was always the only gay person in the office. And I know that probably isn't always the truth, but I was the only openly gay person in all of those offices. Now, when I look back on it, there are things that come into play there. So really, somewhere between 30 and 40% of gay men actually still hide their sexuality when it comes to the workplace. Now, that could be for a number of different reasons. People say, business is business, work is work, keep your personal life to yourself. But there's also that thing of, people feeling, afraid or some shame around their sexuality. And, if they openly say who they are, they feel that can affect, their position, their career. And, sometimes people just don't want to be able to do that. So, it's hard sometimes to be fully open as who you are in all areas because, like I said, you want to go into a place and you want to do your job and you want to grow your career. But, the whole thing of work-life balance and work-life discussion, keep work, keep life, really is difficult because oftentimes what people don't understand is that, there isn't really a difference, right? Life is life. You do work, everyone works. And so going to the office and doing that, you are a person who is living your life. So, that side of the story means that, being open with who you are around those people means that you can be more of who you are, which means you can live a more fulfilling and free and happy life as well. So oftentimes, it'll be the case that, again, people will not want to put those two together because they want to have separation. And so that can play in your identity, right? Because, if you're a gay man and in your normal life, you're open and whatnot with your friends and your family, etc., or you may not, right? But if you are, then you go to work and you feel like you're back in the closet. That can really play a toll on yourself and your identity because you're splitting yourself up into, a range of different emotions, a range of different masks, right? Because often in life, people will wear masks in different situations because they want to try to feel safe and comfortable, and they want to make sure that they're feeling like they can be who they are in those environments. So, if you look at it on the sense that it's all the same, opening yourself up to being who you are in that work environment will allow you to be more of who you are in your day-to-day life as well. Because if you're showing yourself up in all situations as who you are, you can be proud, you can be authentic, and you can make decisions around that are aligned to those values as well. So oftentimes when people hide it because of and they use that reasoning, then you'll find that it's because that people are, have a deeper rooted reason as to why they don't. It's either they don't feel safe, either they feel like it's going to play a factor in their, career, or again, they feel like something's going to affect them in that environment and they want to keep themselves safe and guarded, so they put on a mask as well. Now, for me growing up, like I said, I've since about 21 years of age, when I actually came out, I've been openly gay, everywhere because I just couldn't hide it anyway. Before I was gay, I couldn't hide it. I tried my best to hide it. I was living in my closet everywhere in my life. And so when I finally came out, I knew I needed to be authentic and real and me, because once I was me, there was no turning back, and I wanted to be open with who I was. And it's not like I said I would go around talking about me being gay all the time, but I didn't want to have a problem with people suggesting or thinking this way, and I just didn't really care anymore, because once I'd finally gotten out of that closet, I was like, I'm not going back in. There's no way I'm going back into that place, because for me, that closet was difficult. That was dark. There was depression. There was anxiety around so much, because anxiety was there wondering what people would think. And so if you're living in that closet in some part of your life, your work life, you can have that anxiety coming into play, because like I said, you're trying to hide something, and that can play in a factor, because again, depends how good you are at hiding and how good you are at not being able to show off who you are, because again, there will be people who talk, and again, that can play a factor in how you show up as well. So for me, like I said, in all of those offices, I was the only openly gay person. And of course, that's isolating in itself, right? You feel alone. You don't feel like you've got a lot of representation around you. And sometimes because of that, people have their own preconceived judgments and notions of what a gay person is or whatnot. And especially when it comes to different backgrounds of people and different companies, because I've worked in different companies where people have been, fully Russian, people have been fully religious, people been fully from, all different walks of life as well. So some places aren't as diverse as others, but, I was able to show up and prove who I was as a person, but also prove who I was as a worker. And it never affected me in those positions. But again, when you're going through different stages of your life and your own growth journey, it's really about how you see yourself before you get to have other people seeing you develop and grow and move forward, right? Because early on in my career, I was a manager for the checkout departments at a supermarket. That was one of my first real main jobs. And I moved up from, just being a checkout person to supervisor to then managing the whole department. And so going through that process, there was a lot of different things that happened, because that's really the environment where I actually came out. Because when I first started there, I was in the closet, right? And so throughout the process, I actually came out there. So for me, it didn't affect me getting to that position, because I was always a hard worker. It just was a process of, me going through that led to me not wanting to be there anymore. Because once I had finally come out, I was like, this isn't the type of career that I want to have for me, right? When you hold yourself back in a while, you stay in a job, you stay stuck where you are sometimes. And so when I was evolving as a person and coming out as who I truly was, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. And so, at that time I was, still really coming to terms with everything. And really kind of discovering myself. So I kind of quit that job and took 6 months off to really just immerse myself in the gay scene, right? And so when I got back into work, I've done other jobs. I worked in, travel agency for a cruise company. I worked for the bank as well. I worked for a sexual health clinic. And then I moved into working in bars as well. And then I finally moved into, a long corporate career where I was, at an online e-commerce company, where I ended up being, a high position. I was the head of customer care, grew a team from 20 all the way up to 300. So I've been through all of that, and all of that I've been openly gay. And like I said, until that last corporate job, I was the only gay working. And so when I moved into a company where, the CEO was gay, there was, a large diverse set of people from all walks of life, a lot of people who were gay, it was a complete different experience. And when I was able to go into a place where I felt like no one looked at you in those ways, I was able to see myself differently when it came to my corporate career. And so when I moved up there, it was never about those things. It was about my personality. It was about my work ethic, the skills that I have, and me just being able to get the job done and actually, connecting with the people in my team and across the business, right? So that taught me a lot about who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up. And I know that's not always the same for everybody. So really, for you, I'm sure there's a lot of different experiences. And I said, if it's 30 to 40% of people hide their things there's going to be a lot of people listening to this who are going to be probably one of those in one of those categories, right? So whether you hide that or not, it's about really going and saying to yourself, what do I want from a career? What do I want from the company that I work for? Because if you don't feel comfortable being who you are in a workplace, then it's time to start questioning, is that the right workplace environment for you, right? Because if you want to be able to, like I said, fully be yourself, fully own yourself, fully live a life of purpose and passion, and you found a career that you love, then, finding a company that also has similar values of diversity and open-mindedness and equality across all areas, then, that's the company that, you might want to have a look at trying to find. Because if you're not feeling comfortable to be open there, then what is that saying about the company, the environment, the people around you? Because, really living a life of genuine authenticity and really being proud of who you are means you're able to show up. Now, like I said, again, it just shouldn't matter and it doesn't define you always, but there's a big part of you that is this person, and this is part of your identity, right? So being able to show up and really live your truth no matter what. And again, like I said, you're not going to be going around the office talking about every single part of, your life as a gay man, but being able to have people that know that about you and you being not afraid to show that should be a place where you want to work. So finding that environment for yourself where you have that diversity, where you have that strength, where you have that pride to show up as who you are is probably something that, not everyone can find and or has been looking for. Because again, if you're trying to build a career and you're in a company, sometimes you feel stuck that I can't get out. There's not something better. This is the best I'm going to have. That's how I felt for a long time, but I showed up as who I was, but it only got to a place when I really was evolving and allowing myself to be that way and continue to work on myself and deal with my own traumas, my own triggers, heal myself from my past. Was then I really was able to go, you know what? I've been wanting to be a coach for so many years, but I didn't believe in myself enough. And so finally, when I was able to work through my own stuff was when I really had to shift my identity into that as well. So, as much as people know that I'm gay, people know that I'm a coach, right? Because it's part of who I am as much, because I'm a big person on, I believe in identity and that it defines us but also it doesn't define us, we can put ourselves into different categories because it makes us feel part of a community, right? It makes us feel important and that we have passion and purpose and that we're living our mission, right? And, my mission as a gay coach for gay men is that. And so I have pride in that. And I just want you to think about, are you showing up and being proud of who you are in all those areas? Because again, it shouldn't be a separation of work is work and life is life, because it's just life, right? When you're doing something and it's a big part of your life, you should be putting you into it. And no matter who that person is, you want to put yourself into it. So allowing yourself to fully be open up and do that, is amazing. Of course, there's so many experiences that I've had working in different offices where, like I said, people weren't as accepting of me. But if I focus on the people that aren't accepting of me, then I'm going to be stuck in that mindset, right? I'm going to be stuck around people who don't accept me and allow them to be one of the narrators of my own story. So instead of worrying about the people that don't accept you, focus on people that do, because there are always going to be people who are supportive of you, that are going to have you back, and then are not going to be, holding you back from that. And again, if you're in a workplace where you feel like the majority of people won't accept you for who you are, and that's partially why you're hiding, then again, think about, is that the office, the environment, the corporate world that you want to be in? Again, that's a big thing to think about. Because, again, you might have been in a career for a long time, 5, 10, 20 odd years, right? And it's about really going, for me to really step into my power, for me to step into who I am, I need an environment that's going to allow me to really step into that, to really be able to fully do that. And again, if we're focusing on a few people in the office, don't worry about that. Focus on the rest of that, But if it's majority, then it's about figuring out if that's the right place for you to be. So I know that this topic, for some people in different parts of the world can be difficult, right? You might say, well, everyone around me isn't everyone in my area is going to be feeling this way, right? Now that could be true, or it could be also how we feel about ourselves. And when we don't own ourselves and accept ourselves, and we have judgments towards ourselves, then it's going to play out in the environment. We're gonna use our perception as projection and project that these people are going to think this way about us, because really deep down we think those things about us, right? So it's also about you coming to terms and really working on your shit, healing your trauma, so that you can show up. Because when you show up as who you are, no one's going to judge you for it. If you literally own who you are, there's no one who can judge you for it, because you don't see those people. Whether they even show up for you, you don't really take much of that stuff on. If we get triggered by things, then that's stuff for us to work through. So we don't want to look at those triggers and be like, oh, that's terrible, that's awful. We go, well, fuck, that's just something that I can move through and heal within myself, so that I can have a life that I want to have, and attract people around me that are also on that same page. So again, if you feel that way and you really feel it's the environment around you, then think about, are you living in an area that's going to, again, be, suffice to the person you are. So if your area is prejudice, if your area is judgmental, move to a different area that's going to be more open to you and who you are. But again, also look at it honestly and go, is it my perception that everyone's going to judge me, or is it that I'm truly judging myself? Because if you move and run away from the problem, you'll find that wherever you go, that problem will still be there. So it's also about really looking and honestly saying to yourself, am I judging myself and projecting onto others? Because if that's the case, work through that. I work with hundreds of gay men, and I help them through problems just like this. And like I said, oftentimes I've had clients who wanted to move away, and they thought that was the best option. We worked through stuff and realized that it was really their own perception of themselves that they needed to change. So there's a lot of work that can be done, a lot of healing that can be done, and a lot of transformation that can be done, so that you can get into the right space within yourself, so that you can be who you are, show up as who you are, and then continue to be and do what it is that you want to do when it comes to your career or your mission. Now, oftentimes people who go through these types of transformations realize that, they've been holding themselves back from really what it was. Like I said, I went in corporate for so long, living a life that, most people would be so happy to have. I just wasn't happy in it because I wasn't living the mission, right? I wasn't living my purpose. I had to get through healing my own stuff to really get to a place of being so confident within who I am, so I could go out and follow my dreams and take those risks and make a business and life for myself. So again, the journey can lead you to a different direction, but you have to be open to allowing that to happen if that's what it is meant for you. Like I said, oftentimes people say, I don't know what it is I want to do with my career or I want to do with my life. But deep down, you really do know. You're just afraid to say those things out loud to people. And so when we can really be honest with ourselves and really, like I said, work through the stuff, build up our confidence, find fulfillment, we oftentimes realize that sometimes it's about changing careers and moving into something where you're giving back, whether that's to your community or to another community or to just a whole different, world. It's totally up to you, because life is about you getting what you want and being happy going through that process as well. So I trust it's been valuable for you there. I'd love to hear feedback from you. I'd love to hear about your experiences in the corporate world, because I know that, yours is going to be different to mine, and I love hearing from you guys. So feel free to comment below, reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, and let's keep the conversation going. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back next week with another episode, but always remember that you have got this and I've got you. See you next time, guys. Bye.